If Foley footsteps, both for video games and movies, are the thing you struggle with most, this video is for you. Let's watch this. Let that sink in, and now let's watch a movie scene. This only has to work for that scene. Perspective, intensity, everything baked in. The scene that we saw before from Pragmata has to work for 40 hours of gameplay. Footsteps are the #1 thing my community struggles with the most. My name is Bastian Gerner. I'm a senior Foley artist, also known as the Foley teacher. I'm working on video games and movies for the last 16 years, and I'm still refining my footsteps every day. It's really the hardest thing to perfect. From the outside, you might think it's just footsteps, do the walking and be done with it, but it's not really like that. In this video, I'm gonna tell you the differences between working on movies versus working on games, and I'm gonna highlight the biggest mistake that people do when they start working on video games coming from a linear background. Plus, you will get an insight on my Foley Station system that enables you to also start recording footsteps in your own environment. A treated audio room, an edit suite or home studio is already enough to get you started. Let's dive into it. In film, the art is rhythm, emotion, scenery, all in one take. It's not just about syncing to the image, it's really using your feet to act on the character. And you ask yourself, who is the character that's walking? What is the state of mind they are in? Are other characters involved in that scene? Is the scene led by music or not? Is the environment very quiet or very loud? And all this factors in how you then perform your steps in front of the mic, how you place yourself, how you run the transients on the side of your shoe, how you actually move in front of the microphone to match the perspective, how you pace things, when you hesitate or not. All this needs years of daily practice to really perfect it and to be able to run this on autopilot. And even then, you need several takes oftentimes to perfect it for that one take. Now, video games really flip the job on its head. The goal is footsteps that work on the entire game. No ear fatigue, nothing annoying. You play 40 hours or more and you hear those footsteps thousands of times. Over time, they just have to disappear and flow with your gameplay. This can be achieved with different shoes. In shooter games, for example, you would expect shoes like this one. A heavy boot that has a lot of low end and soft sole so that you can create a lot of weight and less transient. Same one with this. This has a bit more impact, but still a soft transient, and therefore you can create a different tone, but still the weight that it needs for a soldier. Now with a video game, a shooter game, I would use shoes like these. That would be a light version of a boot. In films, this is used for children. That one, a normal running shoe in a movie, is already a medium-sized boot for a shooter game because it has this nice soft volume to it, but still low transient. That is a normal sneaker in a movie, and in a shooter game, this is a heavy boot for a soldier. Now with Pragmata, the game that I showed you in the beginning, this is a perfect example because the player character not only has a child on his back, so he has a lot of weight. He's wearing this space suit and his shoes look like ski boots or snowboard shoes. So you would expect a huge kind of type of shoe, like something that's bigger than everything that I showed you. But let's listen to that scene again, and then you'll notice those footsteps are soft and elegant and they work beautiful with the metal surface. Performance-wise, this can be done in sync to the image, but you cannot perform the emotion and the scenery. That's handled by the game. The real work in game Foley when it comes to footsteps is consistency plus variation. One character, one surface, the full set of movement. Sneak, walk, run, sprint, jump, land, scuff, slide, and whatever else is in the system of the game. Then you need a certain amount of variation, so the sound doesn't get repetitive, but it has to be out of one world. So it cannot be too different from each other, those variations. A full set of one surface in one character can easily take 10 minutes to perform straight through. Therefore, game Foley is really physical. Imagine you work on 10 different surfaces and many different characters. That ends up in days of those 10-minute intense kind of recordings, and it gets really sweaty, believe me. The biggest blocker for people that don't own a Foley stage or have access to one is that they don't have the surfaces and a way to capture those impacty footstep sounds in their edit suite or treated home studio. For that, I built a solution called the Foley Station. This is a modular setup of a stone surface and a wood surface that is easy to build. You don't need a workshop for that. And I have free manuals that you can access through a link in the description. Now let's see this Foley Station in action and let's recreate those scenes that I showed you in the beginning with my setup here in the studio. Let's go. This is a setup that is a bit of advanced, but you can build this as well at home. You need the stone surface decoupled from your main floor with Sylomer pads. I also use Sylomer pads of the metal surface here at the end on the wood surface. That is another surface you can build. There's a small one and a big one. I have the big one here. The manuals are in the description. It's easy to build. And then you need a metal plate like that and additional material like those grids to then alter the sound. I'm gonna do the scene now only with this. It took me a while to figure it out, to get the resonance and the low end. So this takes time to set it up. But once it's there, you can do great things with that. And you don't need a Foley stage. You can build that in 1 or 2 square meters of your treated audio room. Let's dive into the scene. There you go. It was one take. It needs, of course, a bit more difference when he jumps on that kind of ladder thing to elevate himself. But for one take, I think that was a good basis. Now let's get to the shoe type that I used. This is the heavy boot, and the guy is only wearing a normal kind of sneaker. I wanted to highlight that because this way I could enforce the tone of the material better without having a big transient because of this material, this rubber material. Let's use a complete different shoe for that heavy boot in Pragmata. Now, complete same setup. I have changed nothing with the mics or the surface. Only the shoe is now the very soft kind of child shoe for movies used on that huge character in Pragmata. Let's go. That was 17 seconds of something that can take 10 minutes to really complete a full set of those footsteps. Of course, there's a lot of tuning involved and getting the sound right. So it's not 10 minutes, it can take hours to get the sound right. But that's game audio. If you are serious and you want to learn Foley for real, I advise you build the Foley Station system, put it in your room, put it into practice, train daily, and if you don't want to learn only from watching videos, I have a private membership community called the Foley Guild. Link is in the description. In there, I personally guide you, give you feedback on your work, and we meet in live calls so that you can elevate quickly within learning this craft of Foley. Game studios or indie developers watching, if you want to work with me and hire me for your footstep or Foley work, I'm happy to connect. There's also an email in the description. Let me know in the comments where you are currently at. Do you enjoy working on movies more than on games or vice versa? What is your next goal? What is the current blocker that you're facing? I'm reading everything. I'm happy to connect with you and have this discussion here on that channel. Thanks for following along. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do it now. It's a free thing that you can help me with to grow this and elevate it further for the sound community to know more about Foley. Thanks for watching and see you in one of the next videos. Peace, the Foley teacher.